What's going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking another look at the Void Gauntlet. I pair it with Life Staff. I'm going to give you the overall build in this video and explain to you why I've switched things up and what you could do to get the most out of this build for DPS and healing in all instances. Let's hop into the video and take a look. So let's look at the Void Gauntlet first. I will be going over my Life Staff build and not only that, but my armor build to show you how I'm able to run this and why I run this. So before with the Void Gauntlet, I was running Orb of Decay so I can have a little bit of burst healing, but I caught myself not using it as much as I needed to because I was never really in a panic healing spot just due to the effective of my build with my Life Staff and my armor I've set up, so I don't really need Orb of Decay. So I was like, how can we better use these points? And I kind of came up with a new build that I have currently sitting in front of us, explaining exactly what we have, okay? So of course, my first point is going to be Voidblade. Why Voidblade? Well, if you really think about it, as a healer, I need DPS, and this is the only way to get it that is actually effective for us. It's very useful, it's very powerful. I always run this. I don't think I'll ever switch this because it takes away my ability to do a lot of DPS in a short amount of time. I also take Forsaken, 10% damage while below 50% mana. Half the time I'm usually below 50% mana, so I got that little extra damage buff. Right below it is Fortified Blade. You gain Fortified on the start, increasing damage absorption by 20%, so it gives you a little bit of durability while you're inside attacking, hitting crits and whatnot. Then I use Vicious Void, which is 10% critical damage on Voidblade attacks, which is very good. Then below that is Successful Thrust attacks, heal self for 5% of weapon damage, disintegrate stacks on target, scales exclusively with focus, which is very nice because of course we have a lot of our points going into focus because we are a Life Staff build. I got some other passive abilities here, using Refreshing Precision, 10% cooldown reduction on all abilities on critical hits. Then we also have Leeching Agony on critical hits, health equal to 15% of damage done, so I can heal while I'm hitting. Also have Empowering Proximity, gain Empower when casting abilities within 5 meters of any enemy, increasing damage for 10% for 5 seconds, and this stacks 3 times. So this is actually really good for us. And then you have Refreshing Fatality, 5% cooldown reduction on all abilities when successfully hitting an enemy affected by 3 or more debuffs, which is something that we always have on enemies. Between our range attacks and our Life Staffs and our Essence Rupture, there's always a debuff on them. I'm going to be putting 2 debuffs on the enemies with my 2 attacks, so this is going to be really good for us on our cooldown reduction. And last but not least, we'll make sure you get the Void Collar. When you have 10 points used underneath one tree, you get this. Make sure we select. The second thing I have on here is Oblivion. I know a lot of people use Oblivion in PvP, some use it in PvE. I was always kind of using the Orb of Decay, but why I was using the Orb of Decay is to get that burst healing. With the burst healing, it's great. With my Life Staff combo, which I'll show you in a minute, I don't really need Orb of Decay. I have plenty of heals to get out in cooldown reductions that I can actually heal effectively without Orb of Decay. I don't really need it anymore. So I've switched to Oblivion, which gives you a circular rift of the void energy at the base of the feet. This is good to kind of help boost damage and also give empower to friendlies such as your DPS and your tank on target. It's very important that you put this down on the tank and the tank stays in it along with the heals. If you can stack those 2 together, it is a deadly combo and actually pumps out a lot of damage over time. And this gives a pretty big radius of 5 meters. So what this looks like and how I'm using this, as we start the round, the tank will grab the aggro, and what will happen is I will run in and lay Oblivion down on the tank, and then I will rebound out and I will throw down Essence Rupture, or I will use my Life Staff in order to heal with Sacred Ground or a Beacon, or maybe it might be Light's Embrace, or let them get a little bit of damage first before we do anything. So that's kind of how I'm using it. I use it as the beginning of the encounter, and then throughout the battle I'll roll in, lay it down, and roll out to get away from any kind of enemy strikes and try to get as much damage up as possible for our guys. And of course we're going to max this out with both abilities, which is Withering Oblivion. Your attacks inflicted weakens the target inside the radius, reducing their damage by 5% for 5 seconds per hit, can stack up to 3 times, so you really get a 15% damage decrease from these enemies by laying this down. So that's another great plus. If your tank or your DPS is getting hit, it will reduce the incoming damage to them. Not only that, but they'll also gain plus 15 stamina per second for self and friendlies while inside the radius, which is pretty good, especially if you're a DPS and you like to roll around a lot to kind of put damage on. This will help you keep your stamina up pretty full so that you can dodge more often than not. Then on the other side of, or on the decay side, of course, I'm going to pick the first point is going to go to Fervent Thirst, 5% mana per successful range attack, light attack against targets afflicted by your Void Gauntlet debuffs. So you can always cool down or get mana back by hitting or throwing, small void attacks while they're in the Oblivion, or have Essence Rupture available so that you can get more mana to keep it up, because I know it's always a problem with this build. I'm also going to get Radiant Efficiency. Mana costs are reduced by 25% while below 50% mana. With this build, I am below 50% mana a lot. I do use mana potions from time to time when I need to heal a lot in a shorter period of time, but this also helps us reduce the cost while we're using the Void. And if you look at some of these things, they cost quite a bit of mana. This one costs 30, that one costs 20, this one costs 25. So pretty high cost. You use all those 3 rapid fire, what's going to happen is that your mana is going to drain pretty fast, and that's why we want to get as much mana reduction as possible. And then Leeching Bolts. Healing from ranged heavy attacks is increased by an additional 30% of damage dealt if target is below 50%. It's very beneficial because you're going to get more healing if you're caught with no abilities or you're down on mana. This will help bring it back up or give you a little bit of heals to kind of get you through those tough situations if needed. Then we're going to use, of course, Essence Rupture. You file a projectile that inflicts Essence Rupture for 10 seconds, healing anyone that hits the target for 20% of their damage done. Does not apply to damage over time. This is very good for your DPS, and you can use this in very different ways. I always usually like to start the battle off with this. Just that way our DPS and our tanks are getting healing right off the bat without me switching to Life Staff. So this is very important. I use this all the time to kind of allow the outside, if you have ranged DPS such as casters or musket drivers, this will help them get healing even when they're not inside your beacon or inside sacred ground. This is a small way for them to get healing as they're doing damage over time, especially if they're putting out a lot of high damage output. Then you also have Invigorating Rupture. Players additional receive 15 stamina when hitting the affected target. So again, if the DPS likes to roll, you're getting a 15% from Oblivion, and then you're getting a 15% or 15 plus stamina gain from hitting the target. Your stamina should stay pegged pretty much the whole entire time. Then you have Overflow Essence. Friendlies within 4 meters of the affected target are healed for 80% of your weapon damage when Essence Rupture ends. Scales exclusively with focus. So this is very good for the amount of damage that you put out. They're getting healed for 80% of that, which is another surefire way to make sure that they're keeping healed for that short amount of time. Just in case you get in a bind or you need a little bit of help, just getting that little extra tip-top heals over time. So that's the Void Gauntlet build wrapped up for you guys. Let's hop over to our Life Staff to kind of walk you through real quick exactly what I have, what I'm using to keep my healing effects so efficient that I really don't need that decaying orb. And I'll kind of walk you through exactly what we got here. So of course we're going to start on the healing side. Our first point, of course, got to go up top to Life Staff. Light and heavy attacks no longer consume mana. We have to be focused of our mana drain, and we want to make sure that we do not consume mana on using light and heavy attacks for your Life Staff. It's just a waste and can cost a lot more than what you need. Then come down here. Heavy attacks now remove 1 debuff when passing through allies. This is very good if somebody's stunned or has a debuff that they cannot get rid of. We can heal them with heavy attacks, which we throw. Got to make sure that it throws and passes through our allies in order to get it. Along with that, we want to pair it with Blissful Touch. Light attacks now heal for 16% of weapon damage passing through allies. So as your DPS is stacked at the foot of the boss, you make sure you aim at the feet. You can get active healing along with damage done to the boss all in one shot. These 3 are very important. Then the first ability I'm going to take is Sacred Ground. This creates an area of the ground 3 meters, lasts for 12 seconds. Heals allies are in the area are healed for 16% of weapon damage every second. So again, this keeps them while they're doing DPS, which is very good, and this actually helps keep them alive for a lot longer. Then we're gonna take Holy Ground, regenerate stamina and mana 50% faster while inside Sacred Ground. Again, this kind of pairs with making sure that they have enough stamina to roll around, get away, do whatever they need to do to avoid attacks. This is another perk on top of that with what we added on with the Void Gauntlet. And then also we have Inundated. While allies are in Sacred Ground, they are healed for 50% more of all healing. So this is very good, and it's very active when I'm putting down Light's Embrace, or I need a quick burst heal and I put down Beacon. This is really helpful for those types of things. Then I take almost all the passive in the healing area. I'm taking all the passives just to help us out. So the first one is when you hit a light attack, reduces life staff's ability cooldowns by 5%. So if we're hitting light attacks, it's clearing out our cooldowns on all 3 of our abilities, which is very good so that we can use them more often to get more heals out. So we don't really need the Orb of Decay. On the other side, Desperate Speed. When you heal an ally below 50% health, life staff abilities are reduced by 10%, can trigger only once every 5 seconds. I try to keep everybody above 50% health, but if it does get below 50% health, I want to make sure that's putting us in a bad situation. So I want to make sure my cooldowns are happening even faster. So if you stack both the reduce down, it will help reduce your cooldowns massively quicker so we can reuse them as fast as possible. Then you have Enchanted Justice. When hit in battle, activates a healing aura for you and nearby friends in a 4-meter radius. The aura heals for 8% of weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. Cooldown's 120 seconds, so you can only use this every so often, but it's still pretty good to have. The next one is Intensify. When you hit with a heavy attack, gain a stacking 10% bonus to heal effectiveness for 10 seconds. Stacks 3 times. So if you hit 3 heavy attacks in a row and then you throw down a Light's Embrace or a Sacred Ground, you're gonna get 30% healing bonus or effectiveness for 10 seconds, which is phenomenal. And this is actually very good to have, and make sure you're taking, using this ability to the best of your advantage. A lot of these passive little things, they have to have sequence before that you actually throw out something. So I'll give you an example here in a minute when I get to the next side. Then you have Sacred Protection. While holding a life staff, increase the amount of incoming healings to all friendlies in your group by 5%. So this gives us another 5% bonus on top of what we already have. Then you have this bottom part called Divine Blessing, which is a key thing. When you heal an ally below 50% health, they're healed for 30% more. So if anybody does get down below 50% health, I get an extra 30% bonus, which I think is ideal. So really, we can bring them from 20% life to almost full percent life with the passive abilities and a good Light's Embrace, and that solves our problem. So make sure you have this. Over on the protection side, we're going to take Bend Light first. After a dodge, you heal for 20% more effective for 5 seconds. So you guys got to think about how we stack these abilities. A lot of people don't think about how to use them all together, okay? So what this should look like is using Intensify is that you should be throwing 3 heavy attacks, and then you should be doing a dodge and then throwing your heals to get the maximum amount of effectiveness out of your heals. This is going to put a 50% increase on top of your healing if you do that before any time you lay down heals. And if you could do that sequence where it is heavy attack, heavy attack, heavy attack, and then you go to dodge and then throw your heals down, you will be essentially healing for about 50% more effectively than if you would if you just threw down the heals without doing those 2 things. Those are very important to understand when you're healing to maximize effectiveness so you can heal less more often, if that makes sense. Second point, of course, is going to be Beacon. This shoots a projectile out which will stick to your enemy or your ally, and it will, it deals 146% weapon damage to enemies and attaches itself to a target and heals allies for 16% of weapon damage for each second for 10 seconds. So of course, if you have a tank and you shoot the tank with this, they're going to help do damage. This will stay around the DPS at the foot of the bosses, will allow them to get heals as they do damage, which is again passive healing for myself. It allows them to heal themselves with as much damage as they can massively put out. They'll get heals back for 16%, which is phenomenal. And if you add Essence Rupture on top of this, you can get them to heal up pretty quickly if they're putting out a lot of DPS. And of course, we're going to take Infused Light. Beacon area is effective is now 50% larger to make sure we can get as much people in that area as possible, along with Radiance Blessing, which just makes it last 5 seconds longer, which is a big deal inside of a dungeon, or anytime we can get more healing for longer is of course better. The second ability here is going to be Light's Embrace. This heals a target for 80% of weapon damage and 30% more for each buff on the target. So that is very good. Of course, being a healer, we're going to be putting out massive buffs for them. Not only that, but they're going to have some on their own that this will really help them and give me a quick target heal. Why I choose Light's Embrace over like Orb of Protection or anything like that is because this gives me the ability to heal range DPS such as casters or range as musket, blunderbuss, you know, range, anything like that will really help me target those guys that won't be inside the sacred ground or inside the beacon. So it's very key to have Light's Embrace just for those one-off instances when they grab aggro and they need help. We throw this out in order to help them. And then of course, the last passive skill is going to be Protector Strength. You now have a buff to heal for 10% more, which we're always going to have buffs between the heavy attacks, the dodges, the light attacks. We're always going to have a buff, so we instantly get a 10% free more healing, which of course we're going to take. So that's kind of the healer build that we have here on the life staff. I think this is by far my best build that I've found being most effective to cover all types of encounters, and honestly wouldn't pretty much change this anyway for currently for the future. It's gonna what I'm gonna run. I've tried to test out a few other things, but really didn't work out too well. This has been the best overall, best setup for any encounter I have gone through, and I really don't have a problem healing through dungeons unless I have a bunch of glass cannons with me, and even at that point I still put up a fight for that. So let's hop over to the gear and kind of show you why we bring all this together, so that way you can understand how we're getting the most effective healing out of the life staff so that your Void DPS Gauntlet can run like it is. Alright guys, so let's take a look at how we're able to keep this life staff effective so that way we can run, you know, Oblivion on our Void Gauntlet with Voidblade and not have to worry about Orb of Decay, okay? So of course you could see the Calming Gem, don't really know how many times it can stack, but the thing out there is that people are saying it can stack 5 times. So of course I put 5 Calming Gems on all my armor so that way I don't produce threat, so I get attacked a lot less. Not only that, but I picked some armor with certain abilities to help me heal more effective. So on my helmet I have Fortified Sacred Ground. Allies healed by Sacred Ground gain Fortified, increased damage absorption by 9.3%. This is key. They take less damage over time while they have Fortified in Sacred Ground. That's great for close DPS. It allows them, just gives me an extra buff and allows them to take less damage, allows them to stay more time to do more DPS, okay? Then I'm going to tie that in with my chest that has Revitalizing Beacon. Using Beacon increases healing power on self by 36% for 12 seconds. So if I'm running around, I need to heal, I could throw Beacon out and then throw a Light's Embrace on myself, and it's giving me an extra 36% boost from just wearing this piece of armor with this perk on it to really keep me alive as a healer, because sometimes we can get 1 shot or 2 shot. We have to be very aware. I want to make sure I can max effective heal myself so I don't have to be worried about when we're in the encounters, and I can heal effectively. Along with that, we also have another one here, and then on my boots I have Accelerated Light's Embrace. Allies below full health gain haste when they're hit with Light's Embrace, increasing movement speed by 23% for 3 seconds. So of course, when everybody gets damaged, they like to run away to get away from the damage attack. And when I see that, I like to throw Light's Embrace on them to 1, heal them, and 2, they get a haste on them, so they actually get away for quite a bit faster for 3 seconds, or they can get back in the battle, whatever they need to do. But it's a nice little perk to have in order to really give that extra boost for them to get away and get them healed so they can get out of harm's way, so I don't have to worry about them after that. And if they need more healing, I'm able to throw Beacon on them or hit them with Light's Embrace again if my cooldown happens to go down. Not only that, but if you look down here on some of our amulet jewelry, our ring and our earrings, we have better buffs. So of course, this one's gonna have health. You get 9.1% more maximum health, which kind of gives you a nice little 10% bump almost on your health overall. Then we have our ring over here that is going to have Sacred. Gives me an 8% bonus to outgoing healing. Nice little perk that almost gives me another 10% of healing bonus, so I can make sure I'm pumping out as much bonus healing as possible currently. Gone with that, I do have Refreshing Toast. Potion cooldowns are 27% faster, so that if I do get a chance or get in trouble where I need mana, I can take my mana potion. It cools down 27% faster. Or I like to use health potions so I can keep my heals for teammates. Those will cool down. And not only that, but I have Duplicating Toast. When you drink the potion, it's a 14% chance it doesn't consume, so it'll help slow down the amount of potions you're using. That's very key. These are 2 very good perks to have on your earrings as a healer, or even in fact as another character, just due to the fact that it will help your potions cool down faster just in case you're soloing, and or you know, have a 14% chance not to consume it, so it saves you a little bit of money. Okay? Then next on my staff, of course, I'm going to have Blessed. I get a 20% healing bonus. That is huge. So you can see, again, we're compounding the healing on this build, so that way that I don't need to worry about my Gauntlet healing. I can worry about more damage and fortifying and Voidblade DPS as much as possible. That's the key to this whole thing, is building up our life staff in order for the Void DPS to be as effective as possible, so that way we can get the best of both worlds and kind of be a good two-way player, healing for people and able to put DPS when we're solo or extra DPS is needed in boss fights, and you can keep everybody healed while doing that. That's kind of what this build is. So hopefully, guys, this guide really helps you guys become the best healer slash Void DPS out there. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments what you guys think about this build. Not only that, but if you guys have some suggestions or what you're running that you find most effective for all instances, I would love to hear about them down below in the comments. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's going to help the channel grow so I can bring you more content like this, and I'd appreciate it a lot. It means the world to us. And please make sure you hit the like button also on your way out if you enjoyed this video. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a great day.
I'm getting one fucking tap, so I must be